This episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by DigitalOcean and by Ting. Go to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device or your first month of service. Welcome to Linux Action Show, episode 331. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Are you ready for me to tell folks about the huge show today?
Oh, definitely.
All right, well, coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, I love it when this happens. Sometimes we just casually mention something in a show, and boom, it gets traction with you guys. The IDS system we talked about last week, I think it was our Runs Linux even.
I believe so.
It was an intrusion detection system that seemed like it piqued your interest. So this week, we're going to talk about intrusion detection systems and some of the great open source tools that are available. Now, I know you might be going like, what? That's crazy. Don't worry. It turns out there's an incredible Linux distribution that makes this super easy to do with graphical tools to get you going. And if you're not familiar with what an IDS is, well, kind of in sort of straightforward terms, think of it like this. It's like a video surveillance system for your network. It's always watching all of the packets, recording everything that happens. And just like at a grocery store, if there was a robbery and you needed to go back and see what happened, you would need the surveillance tools to go back and look at the footage and identify that robbery.
Makes
so
sense.
We're going to look at some of the tools that will surface all of the network data that might be passing through your network and analyze it and tell you what's a threat, what's problematic. Because it isn't just about hackers either. And with Security Onion, the distribution, we'll be taking a look at it. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or an expert. You're going to find something here you can do. And really, I'll tell you what. I ran here at the studio. I ran at the house, and I'm like, there's more going on the network than I thought with just like a few dozen machines. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So even if you just have a couple of machines, you'll be pretty surprised at what you can turn up.
I'm going to have to install that because I got a lot going on.
Yeah, man. It's pretty cool, and we'll show you how you can get going on a virtual machine, too. And then in the news segment, we're going to talk about Red Hat doing some shopping. We're going to also have to talk about Useless D, a stripped-down version of System D that just hit the net. GNOME 3.14 is near, so we'll give you some of the little highlights of what are coming up. Some Mate news as well. And Android apps on Linux. And, of course, big news, great news for Netflix users on Linux.
I'd say ginormous.
Yeah. And then in the feedback segment, I'm going to come clean. I'm going to admit, I think there's something that Linux just can't do for me. I need FreeBSD, but I need your help. I'm coming to you first, audience. Don't make me go to FreeBSD. I'll tell you all about that in the feedback segment, and maybe we can figure something out. I need your help. Save me. You're my only hope, audience. But first, Matt, as always, it is our picks this week, and we got to start with something that is kind of amazing. We talk about a lot of things that run on Linux.
Sure.
And some of the most important ones to me are the ones that actually change lives. And that's what Philip S. wrote in. He sent in the Connected Wheelchair project that runs Linux. He says, hey, guys. I found this over on Hard OCP's website. Intel is working with Linux to design a custom wheelchair. This is kind of amazing, and it's narrated by Stephen Hawking, and I just wanted to play a little bit so we could see how Linux systems can be utilized in both directly and indirectly to actually change people's lives. And if you watch, you'll see Linux just being used to make this happen. It's really amazing.
If you don't recognize my voice, my name is Stephen Hawking. I am the guy who made Black Holes cool. I am here to talk about a topic very personal to me: how science and technology can help people with disabilities. I've lived my life on the edge, pushing the boundaries of not just science, but what my body can do. Medicine can't cure me, so I rely on technology. It lets me interface with the world. It propels me. It is how I'm speaking to you now. It is necessary for me to live. I am Intel inside myself. In the Connected Wheelchair project, a team of Intel interns and employees from the Internet of Things group have built a sensor suite on the Intel Galileo board and created an app to seamlessly interact and analyze the information. A wheelchair user can now monitor important information about their health, the status of their wheelchair, and the accessibility of the places they visit, significantly improving their day-to-day life. This is a great example of how technology for the disabled is often a proving ground for the technology of the future. These technological achievements are due to the innovations and creative forces of developers like you. I challenge you all here to excel, to bring about the changes you want in the world.
It's pretty incredible to see them utilize just various open source tools, put them together, and build something like this. And they have Stephen Hawking involved, and obviously Intel's involved. It's really incredible, and they have more information we'll have linked in the show notes about what these connected wheelchairs can do, and
it's incredible.
The data you can get out of these things, and giving them some instructions, and the connected nature of it, all of it, and even working with mesh networking.
I know it's like I see it as a launch pad to a number of amazing projects.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's great to see that Linux not only being used on the actual machinery, but Linux being used by the developers that are working on the software for it too. You saw a lot of Unity desktops in that video. All right, Matt. Well, we've got. I think I have a sickness. I think I might. I think Crazy Chris is blowing it out on Crazy Linux Action Show today.
No.
Not one app pick, not two app picks, but 3 app picks plus a crazy huge spotlight this week. It is the. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I think somehow I got broken. I think something
have this urge
snapped.
to get you a blue shirt and a spray bottle.
You know what it might be? It might be the Diet Coke. It might be too much Diet Coke.
Could be.
So, well, we'll analyze that later. But in the meantime, you guys get to benefit because we've got so much great stuff coming up. First, I want to thank our first sponsor this week, and that is the great folks over at DigitalOcean, where I've got so many droplets. Crazy Chris is blowing out his droplets too. It's ridiculous. And there, you know what? It's like a light went off. My life has been so much better since I realized there is a solution to like no longer fighting with my router and my firewall and making sure my firewall rules are right, my internet connection is up. And
exactly.
That's done, man. Now I have my own private droplet up on DigitalOcean. Oh, you don't know what DigitalOcean is? My friend, I would be happy to tell you. DigitalOcean is a simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way to spin up your own cloud server. You know, I mean, if you're a baller, you could probably get one started up in about 32 seconds or so, but on average, it takes people about 55 seconds to spin up a cloud server, and pricing plans start at only $5 per month. That'll get you 512 megabytes of RAM, a 20 gigabyte SSD, 1 CPU, and a terabyte of ROC and transfer, because DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, and a brand new one in London with IPv6 private networking, and they're rolling out CoreOS too, which this is an amazing opportunity to play with CoreOS, and even if you weren't going to put it in production, which you could, but even if you weren't going to, what a great opportunity to use CoreOS in a fast environment connected to the internet where you can play with the clustering features and actually use it like an enterprise-grade OS. And when you use our promo code, you can do it for free for 2 months. Last September, when you check out. Last September will get you a $10 credit. Try out CoreOS for 2 months and just learn. Or go deploy a Fedora box, whatever, an CentOS box, an Ubuntu box. I'm not going to judge. I put OwnCloud 7 on Ubuntu 14.04, and it has been rock silly solid. And it's just click. It was 3 steps to get it running. We covered that in a recent episode of the Linux Action Show. And the great part is DigitalOcean has an amazing dashboard, a very intuitive control panel, which power users can replicate on a straightforward process because their API is clean. Yes. It is nice. So you can take advantage of tools that already exist in the community or write your own. It's really awesome. And there's great tools that are being built by the DigitalOcean community all the time. TechCrunch just had their Crunch Fest.
Yes, that's right.
And they have like Crunchy Awards and things like that. And some of the guys that were doing the Hackfest stuff there are working on tools specifically around DigitalOcean because developers love DigitalOcean. Linux admins love DigitalOcean. They're taking off like crazy. And when you use our promo code last September, you're going to get that $10 credit. You can try out the $5 rig 2 months for free and see what I've been talking about. DigitalOcean.com, and a really big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring the Linux Action Show. You guys, go get your own server. And I mean, yeah, you can still have a server at home like I do too.
Totally.
But it is so much better when I've augmented it with my own droplet.
Well, and you just get such great performance, and it's like, why pay the power bill? Why expose your network for one thing?
Well, and a huge part of what my computing is doing now when I'm talking to my own systems are on the go, like from my phone.
Exactly.
And so it makes a lot of sense to have it since I'm no longer always on my LAN. And so I need something that is accessible wherever I go. And then that's where the hybrid solution that I'm using now makes so much more sense.
You're not having to deal with ports and forwarding this.
And the performance is great. I got the backups. So
exactly.
Go check them out, guys.
And the price is like, it's just so obvious.
Yeah, and last September, really. $10 credit. So it makes it even easier.
There it is.
All right, so we're talking about network security and things like that. Have you ever been in a situation where you wish you knew if a computer was on or how many machines are on your network or how many IP addresses or which computers are using which IP addresses?
Because then I have to get up and like look, and I don't really want to deal with that. I just want to know.
And you might be like me where you have like legitimately an unhealthy amount of computers in your house.
Yeah, no.
And then it gets ridiculous. Like at home, I have like 17 devices on my network right now that have IP addresses.
Yeah.
And there is a tool, there's actually several tools on the command line and all kinds of tools available to you, but one I love a lot, tried and true, used it for years, never mentioned it on the show, I don't think, Angry IP Scanner at angryip.org. It's available for your various platforms.
Very interesting.
I assume. It's available in the Arch user repository as just IP Scanner, so if you want to just pull it down right
I like
there.
the Angry version better.
Yeah, once you get it installed, it's still called Angry
cool.
IP Scanner. So I'll show it to you real quick here. So this here is the interface to Angry IP Scanner, and by default, it started up and it's already selected my range of IP addresses that it's detected my local network is using. So 10.1.10.0, and it's going to scan to 10.1.10.255. The maximum amount, there's 255 possible addresses in that range.
Right.
So it's going to scan all of them, and it'll do it very fast. And you can do other things like random or an IP list file, and it'll also try to do resolution. So I tell it to start, and it's already at 30, 40, 45%, 50%. Now you're starting to see different light indications. These are IPs that are up, so it's showing you which IPs are offline, which IPs are online. Now we get a report. Total scanning time, 10 seconds. It's found 17 hosts out of 254 scans. And if your DNS is working, now I have a crappy Comcast router, but like at home, it'll also go and resolve all, like it got this guy because that's my local box, right?
Sure.
It'll go get all their names, and you can do other things too. Like you can start doing port scans and things like that and see what ports are open.
Oh, nice. That's a real time saver.
So this is great when I sit down at I used to sit down at a client's network, and this would give me a real quick snapshot. And there, usually DNS would working, so you get all the name resolutions. Right. You can also go back and say, could you go rescan this IP for me? I think there is something there. Or if you know there's something like you really wanted to go get from this machine, you can right-click on, say, copy details for me, or you can open it up into a different machine. Like, say, I know this is probably a printer or something, so I'm just going to go ahead and open up a telnet session to it right here by right-clicking on the IP address. Or you could choose SSH, or email a sampler, or if you think it might have something on port 80, you could open up in a web browser.
Oh,
really cool stuff. And when
great.
you see, I copied details too. So if I show you, here's what I pasted. So I get when I copy details, I automatically get the IP address, how long it took, what its host name was, and what ports are open if I told it to scan those things.
I like this.
Really
this
good
is
way.
Really great. It's a time saver.
It's just a really good way to do a little network hygiene on your home LAN, or to do a little discovery on an enterprise LAN, and you could expand that range out to a much wider range. It could be much wider.
And I think for the casual user, you don't feel like you're being overwhelmed in options, because there are tools out there that are just just bury you in a lot of power.
Yeah.
It's like it may be more than you need. This is great.
Yeah, it is really nice, straightforward, and like I said, you could kind of accomplish most of this on the command line.
You could, but little GUI never hurt anyone.
Yeah. All right, so that's our most themed pick. I also have another pick that I've been sitting on for a while, just waiting to slip it in. So I'm tossing it in because it's not like I don't think it's going to appeal to a ton of you, but those of you who might have wanted to back up your own Instagram account or someone else's Instagram account, I guess. I want to tell you about 4K Scram or something like 4K Stogram, I guess. 4K Stogram, 4K Stogram, I guess is how you say it. It's in the Arch user repository. That's really what matters, let's be honest. And here it is. Here's a little demo of it. So say I put in my user ID. I put in Toe Fisher, right? And I say follow. It goes out. Now, you're like, okay, there. It's pulling down all the Instagram photos. It's actually downloading all of them to a folder now on my computer. All of the photos in this feed that I've ever posted are now coming.
That's helpful.
Yeah, and I also then can now view the Instagram photos. Instead of having to bring up the website, I can view them in my default photo viewer.
Well, it did such a nice job so quickly. I mean,
it really does.
Because I remember the old Flickr.
And you see right here,
this thing's way faster.
I see right there. It's still counting up. So it's
so it's still
and
rocking.
I could put Jupiter Broadcasting there. It would pull down all the Jupiter Broadcasting photos, and it's another way to browse Instagram. Or if there's like a couple of accounts I follow on Instagram that like post a lot of cool studio shots.
Oh,
it'd be kind of neat to see some of their studio equipment and stuff like that. So that's another way.
Well, and if you want your pictures, you're going to be offline for a while, and you're like, okay, I'm going to.
Or you're going to leave Instagram.
Or you're going to leave Instagram. Exactly. Export. Boom.
I'm sure Instagram doesn't love that. That's a thing.
Oh, I'm sure they're. I think they're secure enough in their themselves that they're probably okay.
Yeah. All right.
Oh boy.
Our last pick had to make this pick this week because it's a huge deal that it came to Linux. I got emails from people like Chris. I got the skinny. This game you can't say anything, but this game is coming out to Linux real soon. Wasteland 2. Wasteland 2 is here. I never played Wasteland 1, but when you buy Wasteland 2, you get Wasteland 1
Do you really?
too.
Oh, well, that's kind of a twofer.
It comes with it. Yeah, it is. Oh, the show notes.
Oh, no.
That's fine.
It's all over. Show's over.
We'll just go home. Yep. So Wasteland 2 just came out for Linux. It's sort of a post-apocalyptic real-time strategy game that actually manages to hold my attention.
Yes, that's a key factor.
Now we're going to come in when I've kind of been playing for a little bit, so it's a little bit at the boring stage because I've already killed like a bunch of guys and stuff. But you can kind of get an idea. It's an overhead. I got this group of 4. I've customized each person. You can also have the game just pick a good outfitting for you. How you customize your team matters. So you're going to want a healer, right? You want somebody to get some range. I've already had some combat where I kind of wished I'd maybe had done it a little differently.
Right.
The UI is kind of neat. Like you have this dot matrix printer down here in the corner that gives you status updates. So let's zoom out, and so you can see I've explored this area, and I think
so. We're looking at a map now, and we're going back to the dot matrix printer.
I think there is here's a box. So let's go over here. We'll open up this box. So I tell my guys to walk over here, and they start making their way, which is kind of nice. You can go and they'll come over, and if sometimes on their way they'll have an encounter with somebody you have to battle. Ooh, I got some good gear. So this is kind of neat, too, for me because I kind of like the easy button. They have this distribute all, and it attempts to give the items to the characters that are just best able to use them.
That's so much. What a nice thing to do. Because then you don't have to think about, does the wizard really need this? Or
Right.
That kind of thing.
I do that all the time. Maybe I should be more refined about how I do it, but that's... So right now there's a mystery. I'm a ranger, and I'm trying to investigate where another ranger has what causes death. And you can see as I walk along the sand, there's some blood trails right here, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I must be on to something. And and it's turn-based. So when you get in combat, you get a few turns. Each guy gets a few turns, and then the bad guy gets a few turns.
Keeps one guy from being overwhelmed. Sure, that makes sense.
And there's different tricks. Like I've noticed that if I decide to use my fisticuffs instead of a gun, then he'll walk over to the guy as part of the maneuver instead of spending one of my turns walking. So that's kind of neat. There's a few things. The atmosphere is super great. It really has a good feel to it. And when I first started playing it, I thought, these games don't normally hold my attention.
Exactly. But it feels like there's enough dystopian despair that it kind of grabs you and pulls you in.
Yeah, so it is called Wasteland 2. Just came out for the Linux this week, and it's been around for a while, but oh man, I really have enjoyed it a lot. So I'd say go pick it up, and it looks like it just keeps getting better and better. And this is the Director's Edition too, I believe. Which
I think Wasteland 3, they should give the wizard a rifle. I think that really should happen.
I think the wizard should always have a rifle,
Absolutely.
Matt.
Fire sticks,
And
man.
I'm not just talking about his staff either. All right. So we have a huge announcement for our weekly spotlight this week. So you guys know that Ohio Linux Fest 2014 is coming up. Yeah. I'm going to be there. Noah's going to be there. Producer Q5 Sys is going to be there. And Angela's going to be there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's not 100% tentative, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty much locked in. We're going to try to rock it. We're going to try to make sure that when we get there, people can come out and say hi to us. So please, go to Ohio Linux Fest 2014. It's going to be October 24th to the 26th. Come out and say hi to the Linux Action Show crew. We'll be getting interviews, talking to folks. I don't know if we're going to have a booth yet or not, because I want to get down and be able to say hi to people and things like that.
I think if it was me, I would just be on foot. A little more mobility.
I am so excited that Angie's going to be able to go with me. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and a lot of folks, watch Linux Action Show, also watch the faux show, so they'll have a chance to meet her. So to celebrate the moment and help fund the trip, we are launching a limited time Jupiter Broadcasting jacket. We have a brand Linux Action Show edition for Ohio Linux Fest, but it's available to anybody. Teespring.com/JBJacket. Teespring.com/JBJacket. We're trying to raise a little funding to not only pay for the trip, but also give you guys some swag to wear. We have several different colors you'll be able to pick from: blue, black, or gray. Zip-up jacket.
Nice.
We decided to keep it minimal and clean, so it doesn't have like a big banner ad on the back.
Right.
It's just got a nice Linux Action Show logo, our round logo that looks really great right above the chest pocket.
It looks really comfortable. It's kind of low profile,
And we figured in Ohio, towards the end of October, people are going to want a jacket.
That's about the perfect. Yeah, that's about perfect actually for that.
Of course, it's not necessarily fall everywhere in the world, but you could always grab one now. So we're doing a limited run because we do want to be able to ship these so you can get them in time for Ohio Linux Fest. We can only run this for 8 days.
Oh, wow.
So we probably will be almost wrapped up by the time the next Linux Action Show comes in. We might have a few hours left, I guess. So here's where you go. Teespring.com/JBJacket. You can pick from several colors. We've got blue, black, and gray. Teespring.com/JBJacket. Get the Linux Action Show jacket. Look at that.
And if you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't find a pen, I can't write down a URL, I have no memory, don't sweat it. It's going to be in the show notes. You'll find it there, no big deal.
Yeah.
That's how I am. I'm like, oh my god.
This is a brand new product line from Teespring.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
We got the 411 early on this. We've been working with them for a little while. We've got premium quality materials for this, premium quality printing. We gave them a crazy great resolution SVG graphic for the logo, so the logo is going to look crazy
nice and sharp.
I think I'm going to grab one of every color. To be honest with you, because why not? Right?
Yeah, right. I mean, with winter coming up, it makes sense.
And so if you're going to be, even if you're not going to be at Ohio Linux Fest, but if you are, it would be awesome to see you there in one of the these, you can rock the Linux Action Show jacket.
You know, it'd be cool if someone buys these and wants to maybe submit a picture of them wearing it. That would be amazing.
Yes. No, yes, you must. In fact, send those to Angela at JupiterBroadcasting.com when you get them, even if you go or not. I mean, we'll be taking pictures of you if you're there, but well, I think I'm going to get, I want gray, black, and blue. I want all of them.
Yeah, I could go blue or black. I might, gray would make a good standby, but I think my first one is going to be blue.
Gray
and black.
feels like a safety. We've sold one jacket. We sold one jacket.
Wow,
there
right
you
on.
go. One
there
jacket.
it is. So
go over to teespring.com/jbjacket to grab one. Those look
sweet.
Awesome. Man, I'm excited about that.
Definitely.
We weren't sure. So the timing of it all is kind of, because not only is it a limited time to make it ship in time for Ohio Linux Fest, but this is a new product for Teespring that they've been working on for a little while, and they finally got it refined, and we wanted to make sure it was at the right point before we pulled the trigger. Exactly. So it's really been this very tight accumulation of events that have all come together. We're able to offer it for 8 days. I think it's amazing. I think you're gonna be really happy with them when you grab one too. So check it out, teespring.com/jbjacket.
Good deal.
All right, Matt, let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. Ting is mobile that makes sense. My mobile service provider, last.ting.com. LAS.ting.com. Last.ting.com is where you need to go right now because that'll save you $25 off your first device. If you've already got a Ting-compatible device, it'll give you a $25 credit. I got a Ting-compatible device. So does Matt.
Yes.
Hey, I like your brand new large screen phone there, Matt.
I know, right?
It's been 5.5 inches for a long time. And available on Ting this entire time.
I know, right? It's like,
I have the slightly smaller Nexus 5 here. You're running Android on your Note 2. I'm running Sailfish OS. Both of us are on the Ting network, and I'll tell you what we love about it. No contract, no early termination fee, and we only pay for what we use. Ting takes our minutes. Then they take our messages and our megabytes. Whatever bucket we fall into, that's what we pay. That's become so economical for me that I actually have 3 lines now. And it not just for myself, but actually, well, 2 of them. Yeah, one of it, okay? I got stuff to do.
2 phones.
I got business. And it's just awesome. It really is awesome. And Ting wraps it all up with this incredible dashboard that makes it really easy for me to see exactly where each line is at. I can set alerts, nicknames, call forwarding rules, all that stuff. Turn them off if I need to, which is also kind of handy.
Sure.
And they have great customer support. No hold customer support when you call them at 1-855-TING-FTW. They've been making some changes too. They're working on their trade-in program. So if you want to switch to Ting, but you don't have a Ting-compatible device, they're going to let you trade in like your other carrier device, and then they're going to give you a percentage of its value. I think it's like 30% in Ting credits. Yeah, in Ting credits.
Wow, that's cool.
Right? So
that's cool.
That could be really handy too if you've got an old device and you turn it in and get Ting credits and then get like a Wi-Fi hotspot.
There you go.
That credit would stretch for as. I mean, to put it in perspective, when I got my $25 credit by switching to Ting, that lasted me more than my first month. Nice. And that's with, I'm driving, I'm using the data, all that kind of stuff. The other thing we love about Ting is they are hip to the app scene these days. They've always got great apps, and Kyra's here with an app pick that I've never even heard of, but I trust this girl's taste, so I'm going to go with it. You ready? All right, Kyra, what do we got this week?
We've all heard about home automation. How about pocket automation? I'm Kyra, and this Stings App of the Week.
Oh, Kyra! Woo!
Llama lets you think less about your smartphone. When certain conditions are met, like when you arrive at a specific location or set a time of day, it automatically adjusts to the settings that you've selected. For example, you could set Llama to switch to silent during class and back on after it ends. Or you could set Llama to lower the brightness once your phone hits 15% battery.
Nice.
When first using the app, help Llama learn where home and work is located. Long press an area and choose Start Learning Area to teach the app where you are. Add new locations like work, a friend's house, or the mall by tapping the plus sign in the bottom right.
Nice.
Oh, that is cool.
Once these areas are saved, the Events tab is where you create your automation. Tap the plus sign in the bottom right to add a new event. Let's say I want to automatically turn on Wi-Fi when entering my house. It takes 2 simple steps. For condition, select Enter Area, then choose Home. For action, select Wi-Fi and choose Wi-Fi on, and you're done. Llama will run any automations you create until you manually disable them. Llama doesn't rely on a GPS signal. Instead, it uses cell towers to track your location, saving you big time on battery life.
That's awesome.
That's
While Llama includes some advanced options, the app itself isn't overly complicated. If you're a daily smartphone user, it's definitely worth checking out. The app is available for free on Google Play. There's a link beside me and in the description below. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more app reviews.
You should also check out Ting's YouTube page. They have a video up there that talks about what's wrong with the mobile industry. And you know what? They are so right. And I think that's a big part of
elusive empty inbox?
Yeah, but we already did that one. Thanks, Kyra. Mailbox for that one. That's one of the things I love about Ting, right? Is because my money now is going towards a company who's going to, if nothing else, even if those of you who don't figure it out and switch, at least my money's going towards a company that'll put pressure on the companies that are abusing you to eventually not abuse you as much. You're welcome. Last.ting.com. Go check them out. No, really, seriously, they really are mobile without the BS. It's really nice to have something finally different.
Absolutely. Well, that was a great app pick, too. I was like, because I've used other automation tools, and they're all GPS-based, and it's just, it just
a battery
your
drain.
battery. Oh, my God. Horrible.
Okay, so Red Hat is draining their bank accounts, so they're buying Feed Henry. So this is what's interesting about this. They're based out of Ireland, and they are a mobile app development shop, specifically for enterprises to build apps for other enterprises. In a statement of the acquisition, Red Hat says it'll be paying 63.5 million euros, or 82 million US cash, in cash for Feed Henry. The deal is expected to close in Q3. A lot of speculation about this particular purchase, about what this kind of means. TechCrunch's The Move speaks to how a sharp rise in smartphone usage, with some 1.2 billion handsets now shipping this year, according to IDC, has sort of had a knock-on effect in the enterprise world, and Red Hat's now looking how to respond to the reality of that situation. And it does make sense that there's probably more mobile administration going on that Red Hat would need to respond to. So the mobile application platform was worth $1.4 billion in 2013, and estimates now say $4.8 billion by 2017. There's got to be money in there for enterprises to figure, right? And if Red Hat could get in on that, I think that'd be massive. Mozilla's senior vice president of application platform businesses chimed in and said, the mobile application platform is one of the fastest growing segments of the enterprise software market, which I don't know if that's true or not. I'm kind of out of the enterprise game, but it makes sense in that light why maybe Red Hat would be
I think to a certain
this.
degree, yeah, it does make sense.
Big money for Red Hat, though, Matt.
Big money,
That's what I find to be interesting about this. All right, moving on, talking about something that kind of has an indirect impact on Red Hat. People be hating on systemd.
Oh, my gosh.
Like crazy. So today we're going to talk about uselessd, a stripped-down version of systemd, because there ain't nothing more popular these days than boycotting systemd. Uselessd is in the early stages of development. It's based on systemd, specifically systemd 208 stable.
Okay.
And it is going to be a reduced basic init daemon with a lot of what they call the extra stuff cut out, like a journald, libudev, udevd, and those kind of things. uselessd, meanwhile, adds support for compiling it under Muzzle and CB. Also, they're looking for FreeBSD support, and they're going to include things like they'll still include things like socket activation and that kind of stuff.
Wow. Sounds useless, actually. I mean, it's hence the name, but I mean, it just seems like they're kind of
It sounds
good luck with it, I guess.
So here's what I think. This is what I was going to ask you. Is this open source competition via natural selection at its finest, or is this another example of what the commercial shops and the FreeBSD shops and the Mac OS X shops will look at us and go, look at that amateur hour. They just can't get their crap together. Which of these two is it?
Oh, it's amateur hour. I mean, and the only reason why is because it's taking a negative spin. If they were saying, hey, the systemd guys are doing something really cool, we're going to do something new and cool, better than that, that's fine. But by taking the term uselessd,
so
I think
they're charging it with negative.
Yeah, they're charging it with negative ions at this point.
Yeah.
The whole thing's just feels like sourpuss, whiny, take my ball, go home and cry to my mommy kind of stuff. I don't, it's too bad because they may have gone a really cool direction with it.
Like, listen to this part right here, right here, and sort of talking about the project. Systemd. So why it's based on systemd 208 stable. They say we chose this because it predates KDBus integration into PID1 and the SD bus API, networkd, and a whole host of other that has been growing quite profusely since then. Most baffling has been the recent inclusion of prerequisites for moving KMS-on, I don't know how you say that, as well as the addition of the graphics card device layer. So, they're using terms like most baffling and cruft,
and
right?
I can even handle that because what they're doing is they're saying we're trying to make this a better experience for what we think it should be. That's cool. That's awesome. Now let's use the crappy title, give it a new name that isn't full of negativity and garbage, and go with the mission. The mission sounds cool.
Here's what I like. Here's what I like. I like giving systemd competition because I think this is such a critical part of Linux that I talked about this in Linux Unplugged last week. I do worry about it becoming an attack surface, or it becoming something that once it gets too big, it's too cumbersome to update it, and so it slows down all the distributions at once.
Right.
I worry about, and I think competition would keep that lean and mean and keep things healthy.
Absolutely.
And I also think it's a really good idea to have something that's an init daemon that has compatibility with systemd startup scripts. So that way it makes it really easy. Maybe if I'm not all in on systemd, but I don't want to have to reinvent the init script wheel every time. I like all those things.
Sure.
I'm also with Matt, though. Useless D, really, go screw yourself. Systemd is not useless. It's actually a pretty good innovation, and just because some BSD guys are butthurt that they can't get some stuff on BSD now doesn't mean that it's not great for Linux, and it's not absolutely fundamentally important for the success of Linux in the cloud infrastructure. Yes, I use the word cloud, but you need to realize these things are reality. There are people now that are trying to deploy 10,000 Linux systems immediately, instantly. It's not people spinning up a single VM from time to time or some guy that has a VPS. These are huge corporations that need to spin up tens of thousands of computers. They have to have these kinds of solutions if we want to be competitive. And yeah, I know the BSD guys are butthurt about it, so they can go use useless D. But to call systemd useless by inference is insulting and rude, and I'm totally with you.
Well, and now, as one person in the chat room points out,
so frustrating.
You know, that it's like, okay, look, it's called use less D. Well, again, if I'm reading this and it's all one word, you know, it looks like useless D, so I'm taking it as it could go either way.
What it comes down to is this. I hate that we sit here and we spin our wheels on this kind of stuff. Make something that's competitive and compete on the technical merits of what your project can do. Great on you. Like, you know, take OpenRC. OpenRC has taken all of this in stride and has had a ton of more commits lately. A bunch of new stuff is coming down the pipe for OpenRC. It is a shining example of a true competitive alternative without all the trash talking. I mean, there's some people from the community that have done a little bit of trash talking, but nothing like this cruft and junk and all this stuff in the official documentation when they launched the project, sort of taking a shot at systemd, and really what it feels like is a grab for attention. Well, you got it. Congratulations, you got your attention.
Well, and I come back to the name. I think that because it can be construed, and when you combine those words together, no one in their right mind is going to read that in anything other than useless D. That's how anyone's going to read it. So regardless of what its meaning is, I don't think it was positioned that way.
Well, I feel like you could call it anything. You could call it. You could literally call it Open Systemd Alternative. But when you're using the verbiage that they're using in here, it's unprofessional.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the part that makes it look like amateur hour.
And then you salt it with some of the the cruft and all the other stuff, and it's kind of like, okay, so where are we really going with this? I definitely come back to the fact that I think that it does make us look like idiots. I mean, at the end of the day,
and the other
it really
thing is,
does. It's
like,
just kind of like, come on.
I don't understand. Like, what I cannot wrap my head around is it seems like the Linux community is primarily benched with extremely technical people. Like, we all understand that there are tech specs and technical things are factual, right? It's like a science. And I have done IT for 15 years, and I so can clearly, obviously, and not just like a little bit, like, oh, I can kind of see, like, it's patently obvious how needed systemd was. Like, patently, like, when I saw systemd come around, my thought was, geez, gosh, I wish we would have had that years ago, because that might have helped me not burn out as badly. Like, that was my thought when I saw it. And now when we see it, like, people technically question it. I mean, you can question how it's implemented, what it does, and who does it. But to say we don't need those features, you have your head in the sand.
Well, I've seen this with so many other things. Pulse Audio is my favorite cannon fodder. It didn't work for me, therefore it sucks and it's horrible and no one needs it. Yes, you're absolutely right. We need 1990s audio technology. While the rest of the operating systems can use things and, send sound back and forth from machine to machine easily, we, are stuck in this echo chamber. So, yes, sometimes new technology hurts a little bit. Get used to it.
Hold on, Matt. Hold on. Jack reminds us in the chat room, we need to check in with the HTML5 cam. All right, there we go. HTML5 cam's checking in. He says, hey, guys, hold on. This is coming in from the HTML5 cam right now.
And
what
he agrees.
happens to you is not sufficiently important to justify the wrong you're doing.
Oh, and then he finished it up with a little... Okay, thank you, HTML5. We appreciate
Well, I mean,
the
that settles
commentary.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
that ends the
Really,
whole thing.
well, we could all use a little less D in our lives these days. I
That's
feel like
right,
we've talked
you know.
about this enough. I just get what. Okay,
There's, they can
get
call it
upset.
maybe just the tip. I mean, that's like a little bit of system
I feel
D.
like we are just the tip on the system D topic. Why I get all fired up is because I feel
God.
like shouldn't we all be able to look at the technical merits of something and say it does these things, like we need those things, and then there's still people that are like, oh, you don't need that. No, you don't need that. And I really feel like a lot of it does come from BSD butter. Like, who cares if it's not Unix? Like Linux isn't Unix. Who cares if it can't move over to BSD? They have ways of making it. In fact, BSD now will soon have an interview with the system BSD guys that are making a API layer for BSD that makes systemd calls possible on BSD. They're going to talk to that guy soon. Like, there's already stuff in the works. There's no reason to hold us back. Let other things go on, like use less or useless D and OpenRC, and we'll move forward. We don't need the slinging of mud and the.
It gets tiresome, and it's so sad. It's just it's like watching a car crash. You can't look away.
You know what I can look away from? This GNOME video, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to, because I'm so damn excited about GNOME 3.14. I'm going to go out on a fence, on a ledge, on a peak right now and say GNOME 3.14 going to be the best GNOME release ever. Better than any release of GNOME 2 ever. Better than, obviously, any GNOME 3 version. 3.14. And it's not just because they made this crazy great video that I do want to play, because it is a crazy great video.
I still don't say it's not wide enough. I mean, I feel like
let's hit play. Is it really that wide, or is it just a preview?
know.
It must not be that wide.
Oh my God, it really is that wide.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No. Okay, all right, yeah. Yeah, that had us going for a second.
It's like, what?
All right, so check this thing out. So this is, if you're listening to the audio version, I'll set up. We won't watch the whole thing, but this is a little behind the scenes of. I never really thought a lot about the this aspect of GNOME development, and so it's kind of fascinating to see the tools they use and the fact that they're using all open source tools to make an open source desktop. So now they're wireframing. Now, isn't this fascinating to see them mock it up like this in Inkscape? Like,
that is kind of cool. I mean, first I saw the pen and paper, I was a little concerned, but
now that they are designing the new icons.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
This is actually really cool.
Yeah.
And it proves a point.
So one of the things they've done in GNOME 3.14 is they have redone the Adwadia theme completely. They've completely rewritten it down from like 8,000 lines down to 3,000 lines of code, and then that's been super down compressed from there. Cleaned up a ton of stuff, new icons, new swirling animations.
Wow.
It won't look immediately different to you, but it's good stuff. And one of the things that you're seeing in this video is them going through and refining every single bit of that theme to make it look amazing. Awesome. We have some screenshots in the show notes, and also this video in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. So on top of a lot of the other technology stuff that we're seeing, like look at them in this motion editor. This has got to be Blender here, right? Making the weather animations. Like,
that is crazy.
How neat is this?
This is really awesome.
So GNOME 3.14 has these brand new animations in them that they say they're not trying to go overboard with the animations. What they're trying to do is connect the different UI elements. Look at that new notifications
that feels
window.
Much snappier. I like that. That's actually really compelling.
So at the end there, they show this new notifications window. Here, they're about to show it right about here, I think. That's not until 3.16, but I just want you to see it. What they're trying to demonstrate is these animations connect the UI together. These are like the sort of the glue that holds each element together. So watch this. Watch this notification. Look at that.
Oh, dude.
Look at that.
That's in
3.16.
I like that. You know, it's kind of like, now that's actually visually very compelling, but it still feels very grounded. It has a nice balance.
I really like where we've started so skeptical on GNOME, but they're going in a direction now that is starting to really implement refinement and add features, and with the extensions that I've been able to land on, I'm pretty happy. Here's something else I'm really excited about. So the GNOME, I am in Photos app limbo. I can't decide if I want to go with Shotwell, Darktable, or I never thought I'd say this, but I'm starting to consider GNOME Photos, maybe in another year or so. It's a really basic program. But one of the things they've done is integrated Google Photo support, and I upload all the photos I take to Google Plus right now. I don't know if I'm going to do that forever, but the downside is then to go look at my photos, I got to go to Google Plus.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't know who wants to do that, and you don't necessarily want to like have to bounce back and forth.
GNOME Images is now going to integrate with Google Photos and pull down either your Picasa or your Google Plus photos. Or your Android backup photos into here. So if you're using the Google Plus auto backup feature, they will become just immediately available. It'll be like a form of syncing to make your photos available in GNOME Photo. Here's here's a screenshot of the new rewritten Adwadia.
Nice.
And
nice.
They talk a little bit about what they've done there. They're improving the system-wide search. They're adding new things like the ability to type in a city and then get that city's local time, which is actually really handy for me on there.
Oh, that is kind of cool. Okay.
Don't call it a lens. Don't call it a scope.
I was going to say, it felt very lensy.
Yeah. But you'll notice it's a little less cluttered and doesn't have pictures of vibrators to sell me from Amazon in it. That does make a bit of a difference.
Well, that's what I want from a lens.
Yeah, that's true. Fair point. It also will do calculation.
I get a time zone and a vibrator.
It'll do math for you now. And then there's a new tool that the Gnome folks have been talking about that they're really excited about, and I'm starting to get a little excited about it too. You know, like when you're in a web browser and you can bring up the developer console, like in Chrome or Firefox, and you get a little... Well, check out, this is Gnome Inspector, or GTK Plus Inspector, and when you, I believe it's just like... It's just a control, in GNOME 3.14, Control-Shift-I will bring it up, and you'll be able to inspect GTK elements.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I think this is huge is when I was learning to just do some basic rudimentary web development, being able to pull up the code of the website and see how someone else did it was so fundamental to me. So I think, like if you... For example, I gave my son Dylan a Chromebook, right? You put GNOME on there with GTK Plus Inspector, and if he sees an app he likes, he can open up the inspector and kind of look at how that thing's been put together and learn.
Very cool.
So this could be a really neat app to see how it develops. There's a lot of other cool stuff coming in 3.14. We'll have a full review.
Nice.
When it ships, and we have more in the show notes. Now, if GNOME isn't quite your thing, but you do find yourself a GTK person, well, Ubuntu's Mate spin will become official soon.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. And I think that's a smart decision, I think,
so, Wimpy and Popey have both been working on this, so congrats to them. And Wimpy updated the current development status of the Ubuntu Mate project in the distro's blog. He said, in addition to the regular update, he's confirmed that the Mate variant is going to be recognized as an Ubuntu official Ubuntu flavor. The Mate team requested to the Ubuntu Technical Board for an official flavor status, and they recently received support of the proposal.
Very, very cool.
So there's going to be an official Mate edition.
I think that just solves so many problems for them, because then it allows people to say, well, I want the classic Ubuntu experience. There you go. Problem solved.
And it really,
awesome.
really does feel like the classic. If you haven't tried this, it really does.
It feels exactly the same.
It's amazing. It's like a time machine, and it's great.
But it's modern, and you can update it, unlike the old 804s or whatever.
And you figure they're going to be transition Unity to Qt, and it's going to be sharing kind of a little bit of a touch paradigm interface thingy going on. Maybe more people want something to jump to.
Very cool.
XFCE is great, but we haven't seen a ton of action lately. So.
No, and you always need a fallback. I mean, I run it on one machine that I don't really update a lot. I just want it to be for certain things, media, gaming, whatever. I don't want a lot of resources running on it, but at the same time, it's nice to have a fallback for sure.
This got a lot of traction, and it was funny because we were speculating about this story last week when we talked about certain Chromebooks being able to run Android apps, and I said, geez, I wonder if there's a way to hack this to make it work on Linux. Yeah, it turns out.
Of course there is.
So you can now run Android apps on Chrome, on Windows, Mac, or Linux.
Man.
It requires installing a custom version of the Android runtime extension into Chrome called Archon.
Archon, actually. Archon. Okay.
Archon. We'll have links in the show notes, and then and it'll work on anything really. And then you need a couple other tools. We have links. It's about a 3-step process, 4-step process.
Sounds like it's pretty simple.
Pretty detailed GitHub instructions. Once you get that loaded up, though. People have had Evernote, Flipboard. There's a lot of little tweaking you need to do to get the resolution right. It's a little hacky right now.
Right, but I think it's a little bit like where Netflix was. How many? Right. So I mean, I definitely think it's got a lot of potential.
Yes, it's exactly where Netflix was a little while ago. And speaking of Netflix, and speaking of Popey pointed the entire world to via his Twitter feed. To a mailing list post on the Ubuntu developers mailing list. And Popey says, hello, Mr. Netflix. We've been expecting you. And then OMG Ubuntu picked that up. They say, guess what, Matt? In an email to the Ubuntu developers mailing list, Netflix is just wondering if maybe we could update the NSS library. They say Netflix will play Chrome stable on 14.02 if the NSS version is 3.16.2 or greater, if you have that installed. If this version is generally installed across 14.02, Netflix is able to make changes so users will no longer have to use the user agent switcher. Nice. And all they needed was this library, which is already like in a bunch of distros.
Right.
I think, according to the update, Paul Adolph, who was working in Netflix, says they're going to go forward with it because they heard back from Canonical that they were already planning to update that library for a security reason.
Oh, well, see, that just works out across the board.
So this could arrive in 14.04 in the next 2 weeks. Once that's done, and I'm sure Netflix tests it, all you have to do is install that library update, which will just come down as part of your security updates, and then
that's
Netflix
cool.
tests it, and they just turn off the user agent filtering, and Bob's your uncle. You now have native Netflix playback under Chrome under Linux.
That is so cool because I've already been doing that with the user agent switcher
Yeah.
as far as just in the beta Chrome. And it's like, well, this is great.
So this is truly 100% no hack native.
Nice.
No.
I
Once
love
this
it.
is done, you won't have to do user agent switching. You'll just need to be using Chrome. I don't know what the status is for Firefox. Maybe if anybody out there does know,
It'll happen. I think it'll happen.
Yeah. Gosh, does this feel like a huge deal to you, though?
This is a huge
This
deal.
is it, right? I mean,
it's
this is what we've been talking about for years.
It's one of those things to where it's not something I use on a regular basis on my computer, but it's something I can point people to. And I
right.
can say, hey, look,
and,
you know.
And here's what I'm
it's
hoping.
usable.
I'm hoping now there's a way to take this and bring it to Linux media centers, because this has been a huge complaint I've had of dedicated Linux media
my
centers.
God.
Is can't integrate Netflix very well. Without some hackies. So if this could now, like if XBMC, if somebody could write a plugin that would just call Chrome or some, I don't know. I'm sure it's maybe already done even, but this could be big for media centers running Linux.
And people that say, oh, well, we don't need Netflix on Linux, or we don't need Netflix in a Linux media center. It's for people that like to just have something running in the background that just auto kicks to the next video, or just have random things you don't have to go download.
It's got a lot of good kids videos.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a really good thing.
I'm there with you in the sense like, hey, you know what? If they don't want to support the platform I choose, screw them. They shouldn't have my money. And then at the same time, like, yeah, but I would, if the computer playback wasn't even a thing, I would still pay for them to have playback on the Rokus and on the tablets.
It is for me. Yeah.
So the computer playback is something that's just like an additional nice to have. They've already won me over with their service just for like my kids and wife.
Absolutely.
And they also have all of Star Trek on there, so I'd just pay for it for that reason right there.
And if you have dual monitors, I mean, it works really nice. Exactly.
Yeah,
and,
it does. Yeah, totally.
I tend to write articles that way.
Yeah,
It's like, I'll just be
and
playing
like
whatever.
every now and then, like I'll be missing something from my collection, and I can just go stream it from Netflix. And
That's it.
It's nice, but I do try to do local streaming the most because I don't have any copy protection stuff on my own stuff. But
There you go.
hey, I know it's a big deal for a lot of people, and it's great to see it coming. And we'll be talking about it soon because I think most of us, except for Ubuntu LTS, have that library now.
That's right.
So, or a lot of us. So
And they got original series that I like to watch. You know, Orange is the New Black. There's a few of them. And I've been rewatching some Breaking Bad.
yeah, and you know what else is actually pretty good is the political one that they do. The House
Oh,
of
yes,
Cards.
the House of Cards. Yeah, I've got a couple of people who have been bugging me to start that. And I started the episode 1, then I got sidetracked into other stuff.
Yeah,
I got to get back to it.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. We're going to talk about Security Onion, a Linux distribution that makes setting up your own intrusion detection system crazy easy for a home, for a big business, whatever you might want to do. And the tools that it uses are best in breed and really showcase how awesome open source technology is at this particular task. But first, I want to thank our segment sponsor, System 76, creators of machines born to run Linux. They still got the back-to-school specials going, too. Never been a better time to grab yourself a rig. They got $100 off every laptop, some SSD upgrades. I love that Ultra Pro. But, Matt, I don't know if you caught this. They just updated the Wild Dog this week.
No way.
Yeah, the Wild Dog performance just got a nice update. Now, here's why I love these Wild Dogs. So you're going to get a 4th gen Intel i7 or i5 CPU.
Right.
You can start with the Intel graphics if you want, and then bring it up as you need later on, either because you
that's
could just
handy.
open the side and add expansion, or just during the custom order process, which gives you a wide range. It gives you like everything from like an office machine to a full-fledged gaming machine. The Ratel Performance also just got an update as well. So some great desktops built right here in the U.S., born to run Linux, guaranteed compatibility and support for it too. That's the other key part of that. And the nice thing is with 1410 just around the door, just really days away by the time you get a machine.
Practically there.
It's going to be by the time you get your machine, 1410 will be days away, and System 76 is already ready for it. They're already testing it. They're going to be on day one, like all Ubuntu releases. They're good to go. And I know, like right for me, it makes a fantastic Arch box.
Oh, they really do. Yeah.
I use the heck out of my Bonobo Extreme, and I have for 2 years now. I love it. System76.com. Go get yourself a nice machine. Stop fighting with your hardware. Play with your Linux, and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you.
Support people that support you instead of supporting some faceless corporation that would soon as push you out of a moving car.
And sell Windows in an opportunity they get. Let's start at the basics here with intrusion detection. So this diagram's a little backwards from the way my brain works. The cloud is on the far right side.
Oh, that is kind of...
Yeah, that's where your attacker is at. And then you see you have your network router, which in my case would be maybe like my Comcast modem.
Yeah.
And then you have your firewall. Now, this is where you can start to put in your network intrusion detection system. There's a couple of different places in your network you can install an IDS. And sometimes you want it in multiple locations. I have mine on my LAN, so that way I can watch LAN traffic. And the way I do this is I have a network switch right here. And a lot of network switches, in fact, even some of the more cheaper ones you get off Amazon now, have something called a mirrored port capability. You go into a little web GUI for your switch, and it turns one of the ports on your switch into what's called a mirrored port. And that means all the traffic from all the other ports on your switch gets sent to that one port. Then that's the one you plug your IDS in. So then it sees everybody's traffic. There's other ways you can do it. Like you could put your IDS so that way it's physically between your switch and the firewall, so you could watch all of that traffic.
But I think the former is probably more practical.
Yeah, and it gets you the most data too.
Yeah.
So for our testing here, I don't have that turned on right now, but this would be and you can get these in Netgear, D-Link switches, all the way up, of course, to like high-end Cisco stuff. So that's the kind of layout for an IDS on a network. Is it needs to be somewhere where it can physically watch the traffic on your network. So like just like if you're going to have a security camera somewhere in your store, you'd want it somewhere where it could watch the counter, watch the register, that kind of stuff. So in our case, we're gonna kind of fudge on that just a little bit.
Sure.
And I want to tell you about Security Onion. This is an amazing distribution. I have been really impressed with this over the last week that I've been taking a look at it. On September 12th, they just updated to Security Onion 12.0.4.5. You might have guessed it's based on Ubuntu 12.04, which is good. Ubuntu 12.04 is a fine release. In fact, when they were in their frequently asked questions, they say, do you plan to upgrade anytime soon? And they say, we have no immediate plans to upgrade to Ubuntu 14.04 since 12.04 is supported till April 2017.
Makes sense for what it's doing.
Exactly. For what it does. So what does Security Onion do? Security Onion takes Ubuntu. So if you're familiar with installing Ubuntu, you're going to be able to install Security Onion, and it's literally they use the same installer. So there it is right there. It looks quite nice.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can install Ubuntu, you can install Security Onion. And then the other nice thing is once you get it installed, it has a little setup icon there on the desktop.
Oh, nice.
And when you run that, it brings up a GUI and it says, okay, so tell me a little bit about your setup here. Which network card would you like to use for sniffing?
Wow, that's
Which network
really
card would you
great.
like to use for management? So you need 2 network cards.
Sure.
So if you're in a virtual machine, consider that. It's not too hard in a virtual machine, but if you're in a desktop, put 2 NICs in there.
Yep, exactly.
And then it says, is this a standalone machine or is this a remote machine or is this a satellite machine? Here's a couple of cool things to consider about deploying an IDS. Security Onion itself specifically works in a distributed client-server model. So you can have Security Onion sensors in the client and a Security Onion server that all of the sensors report to. Or you could have it all in one box like I have, right? Where your sensors and your server are the same machine. But if you have multiple networks and you want to have one central server, you could have a sensor in this network behind a DMZ. You could have a sensor over on this network. Like I could have a sensor back at my house and I could have a sensor here and I could correlate the data from both networks, right?
That makes sense. You could almost think of it as like individual cameras, if you will, or even an individual hub
Going
of
back
cameras.
to a DVR.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this case, my camera and DVR are one machine for this, which is not bad. But so you have the standalone installation where it consists of a single or a physical virtual machine running both server and sensor components. You have server sensors. A server sensor installation consists of a single machine running the server component with one or more separate machines running the sensor components and reporting back to the server. And then you have your hybrid approach. A hybrid installation consists of a standalone installation that also has one or more separate sensors reporting back for server components. It's like kind of what I'll be doing eventually, where I'll have servers and sensors on one box and a couple of remote sensors as well. So you get this installed, you set it all up. What really makes this distribution sing is the projects that it's included with it, right? It's not developing these things themselves.
Oh, okay.
They're just doing a really good job of including some amazing tools that make this accessible by human beings. Like they wrote the GUI setup and things like that, but they include tools like Snorby. Snorby is really interesting, and you're looking at. I'll have some UI in the screenshots, but you can see there's a picture of the dashboard there. It also has smartphone apps, so you can check the status of your network from your smartphone. It's really, really cool. So I'll show you a little demo of it. I don't have a lot of data since our network isn't as big as some of these corporate networks, but I'll show you a little bit of what it looks like, Matt, and
very cool.
You get a little idea.
Yeah.
So Snorby right here in my dashboard, you bring it up and. Right here on my local host, you can see I've had 36 high-severity events since I've installed my sensor, and it gives you a little chart here of what they are, and I can go in and get more information about them and see the specific types of severities and things like that.
Oh, okay, kind of breaks it down for you so you can see what's going on.
And just like antivirus too, like it does packet matching, so it says, this matches a particular pattern, and it determined that these are Dropbox client broadcasts, unauthorized Dropbox client broadcasts.
Oh, dude, seriously.
So now I know one of my machines is just doing these big spammy broadcasts of Dropbox, which is neat, and it gives you one quick view. Now mine's not very active because obviously I don't have a lot going on from my virtual machine here, but I do have some screenshots of some more active ones in the show notes that you guys can check out. Look at this one, Matt. Look at the this is obviously a network that has a lot more activity. 19,000 high severity alerts.
Oh my gosh.
And you can go in and see the last 24 hours.
You know what they call that? If you're in IT, it's called job security.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
You got plenty to do.
Yeah, and you get like this also. You could show this to management and be like, "Yeah, boss, we got it all broken down right here for you in the pie chart." And
I hear you're laying some folks off in IT. Hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm working on this thing here. You know, and that's like.
So what Security Onion is really doing is it's seamlessly working together 3 functions, like these dashboard applications, which I'll show you a few more of. Right, you've got a full packet capture going on, a full network-based and host-based intrusion detection system going on, and these powerful analysis tools all at once. So whatever machine you install it on, don't be like Chris. Make sure you put it on a machine that has some decent disk I/O.
Right.
I'm running off a thumb drive right now because I'm all filled up because of ButterFS, and it is really slow because there's a lot of logging going on. The busier your network is, the more logging that's going on too. So that's something you have to consider. All right, I want to show you a couple of these apps because these are the coolest things ever. So that was Snorby. The nice dashboard that gives you a good snapshot of where you're at, and you can integrate smartphone apps. I think this other one is pronounced Squirt. It's Squert.
I'm going to call it Squirt. That's what it sounds like.
It's a web application used to query and view event data stored in a IDS-type database. It's a visualization tool that attempts to provide additional context for events through the use of metadata, time representations, and weighted logic. I know that sounds you're like, well, okay, that sounds like a lot of stuff. What they're doing is, you think about how this works, and a packet capture is a ton of data. There's a lot of things going on all the time, and sometimes you don't know what's just like maybe an error. You don't know if it's an attack. You don't know if it's something more serious or something you can ignore. This attempts to apply filters to essentially sift out the most important stuff and surface that up to the top, and it uses weighted logic to kind of give you an idea of, okay, well, this alert is bad, but it's kind of also just spam, like you know about this, and it's just going off all the time. So I'm going to tuck it down here. You can still get access to this alert, and see if you need to go look at it and analyze it. This is the stuff
you really need to be aware of.
And then
this stuff isn't as important.
And then look at this. So this can also take the data and correlate it. So what we're seeing here is it can go through and say, okay, primarily your attacks are coming from Canada, because Canada's a bunch of bad guys. And then we have Cambodia in here, a little Iran. But really, Canada is what you need to worry about. Let me visualize this for you.
The BDI guys are coming at you. Right.
I think it's probably Alan.
You know, South Park Canadians, I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's squirtproject.org. And what's awesome is you don't have to really do anything in Security Onion. The setup wizard just sets it up for you and gets it going and starts monitoring the logs automatically.
I love the fact that they make that so easy, especially if someone doesn't either have a lot of time, doesn't have a lot of interest in spending the configuration and getting all that set up. It's good to know how it all works. I'm not saying you shouldn't have the expertise.
And and having something that has all the right databases to look at already.
Right.
So that's the Squirt project.
That's
cool. Good. I want to talk a little bit about the Enterprise Log Search and Archive project.
Oh, okay.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, I mean, just woo.
So this is amazing, and this comes with Security Onion, and this is where Security Onion right here. If you have a couple of machines on your home network, do you know that all Linux boxes have the ability to remotely log their events to another computer just built right into them? And that all Linux boxes have the ability to receive remote events and store them for the most part?
Didn't know that.
Not all, but most. Syslog does this automatically, and enterprises will often have a central Syslog server. You can have all your routers, all of your switches, all of your servers, all of your desktops if they're Linux-based, reporting to one box over the network. This is so helpful if you're trying to correlate something that went wrong, if you're trying to work something back, because now you got the logs from everybody at the same time.
You're not having to jump from box to box and hunt it down.
It's nice even here in the studio when we got something going on and you just go to one machine and get all of the logs for all of the computers on your network. So if you have more than 2 computers, this is nice, right? So you can imagine once you have a server set up, it's really nice. The problem is, the more computers you have, the more noise you get. You've looked at your log before. There's sometimes just a ton of crap in there you don't care about. Now magnify that across all of your machines all going into one place. Now all of a sudden, instead of having a bunch of useful data, you've got this massive NSA stack that you'd have to dig through. And this is where Enterprise Log Search and Archive comes in, or ELSA, E-L-S-A. It's amazing. It's the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and it would have solved so many problems for me ever. It's a high-volume receiving and indexing service. It has full Active Directory and LDAP authentication, integration, email settings. It has dashboard that uses Google visualizations to chart your log stuff for you.
Whoa.
It has normalizations for Cisco, Snort logs, Windows event logs, all of these things, so that way everything comes in and it's formatted correctly.
It doesn't care what platform it's coming from.
Nope, email
Oh,
alerting,
that's
has a
nice.
plugin architecture, and it's all web-based management. This is where Security Onion, all on its own, all by itself, hands down, if it did nothing else. This is a centralized Syslog framework built on Syslog NG, MySQL, and Phoenix, a full text search engine. It provides a fully asynchronous web-based query interface that normalizes logs and makes searching billions of them for arbitrary strings as easy as searching the web. It also includes tools for assigning permissions for viewing logs, as well as email-based alerts, scheduled queries, and graphing for individual people. It's incredible.
It's not like it has any features or anything, right? I mean,
And
it's like, good grief,
I don't
that
have a
is
lot to show you,
unbelievable.
but I'd like to show you a little bit of it
Yeah.
right now. This is another tool we'll have to talk about here in a second. There's as you can tell, a lot of really great tools included with Security Onion. So I'll bring up Elsa. When it fires up here, you can see I don't have a lot, but this is the basic interface.
Got your dashboard on the left there.
Right, and I
Okay.
could go in here and I could say, show me all of, I have all my different categories right here. So here's all my top FTP errors. Here's all my top DNS errors. All these kinds of things that I can just immediately sort by and then filter.
So it takes the log, and instead of looking at a jumbled mess,
Yeah.
it breaks it down into
Yeah,
nice
categories.
neat categories
Yep.
that are hyperlinked on the left,
Yep.
and you can just pop, pop, pop,
And
pop,
then
pop.
you can do custom queries, and of course you can save them in there.
Sure.
I have some. I'll pull up one of the. I went out and got a screenshot of a really busy network. And
cool.
I'll tell you too. I worked with some really, really, really expensive stuff that
Right.
was supposed to provide this for enterprises. I mean, we're talking $200,000 to
Oh
do
my
this
God.
stuff. And of course, this project didn't exist back then when we were working on this, but. That's the kind of businesses that this is going after, and I don't know if it's as feature complete, but some of the places I worked at, there are requirements by regulation that they store this stuff in a searchable manner that it would expose these types of flaws. It's required by what
right.
by their regulations, and so there's a big market for this kind of thing. And also in the show notes we have some videos that show you some of these tools in action. This is another tool that I like quite a bit that comes with Security Onion right out of the box. The reason why I like this is SGUIL, and it is an actual graphical interface. It's written in TK, so it's not beautiful, but it's not a web interface.
But it's functional. Yeah.
Right, and all of this stuff so far we've talked about has been in a web page.
Okay.
It's
okay.
fine.
So this differentiates.
This is nice because you get some right-clicking with sub-menus, and you can go deep dive on stuff. Like if something comes up and you have an alert, you can deep dive into it. Like here he's demonstrating, here I'll turn up the audio so you can hear what he's saying. Here he's demonstrating, he's looking at a packet.
We see that it begins with RAR, so we have a good feeling that this is a RAR file, so that's interesting. Let's take a look at the other one. So if we pivot on the connection ID, here we see the file that was uploaded is actually the output of the gsec_dump command. gsec_dump is used for dumping password hashes on a Windows box. So it's interesting that we see the help options for that command being uploaded to an FTP server. So one theory might be that we're dealing with a sloppy attacker, and instead of using the correct options for gsec_dump to actually dump the hashes, he had a typo or some kind of a problem with his syntax, and so gsec_dump printed out the standard help options for the command.
So it's neat because you can take the tool and dig in there and get insights like that.
And to be able to understand, it's like, okay, so you know an attack happened, but to actually have the level of detail.
And
that
what
he's
were they
providing.
trying to do? What tools were
Right.
they using? And as an administrator, that gives you so much to work with. So here's that tool, the SGUIL tool. And like we can take any one of these events, and I can now right-click on it, and I can drill in further and get more info about it. And this to me is it's just so nice to have something that's not web-based.
Yes. I mean, web-based is great in passing, but I think over time it's kind of like, okay, really?
Yeah, and the other nice thing is if you wanted to, you could set it up on your workstation and have it connect back to the Security Onion server. You don't have to run it locally on the box. So you can have a local GUI on your workstation. And the reason why that's really nice is a lot of times in organizations, when you have an event, there is a post-mortem that has to be conducted, and you have to sort of work back what happened. This can also be used. We've been talking about this in the security context, right? But this can also be used in the context of we need to troubleshoot what the hell just happened on our network. We have something that's eating up a lot of bandwidth, or we think we have a spammy NIC. Where's that coming from?
Something more forensic?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And so what happens a lot is it's kind of a boring aspect, but I was the guy that did this for a long time. You sit at your desk and you go into these things and you pull out bits of information and you generate reports. When you do that from a web page, it makes you want to put a gun in your mouth because it is so slow and so tedious and so monotonous. And so to have a GUI that you can go in there and click, generate reports, and have it be responsive, Oh man, this is definitely the episode of like if I had the tools that you kids have now, I don't think I'd be doing this job. I think I would have kept doing this job. I think I would have kept doing this kind of stuff.
That's crazy.
My plan is now that I got to meet Security Onion, I took it out for a drive. We had a nice walk on the beach, shared some moments. I've decided that I'm going to deploy one here at the Jupiter Broadcasting Studios. And see, it has a little dock down there, too.
I mean, you guys went right past the having wine phase and jumped right into bed.
No, we're quite happy together. We complete each other. And Security Onion, based on 1204, means I'm going to have updates till 2017.
Cool.
It's got a great set of tools. And it seems like a bit of a community is thriving. In fact, coming up very soon, there is a hands-on training in I think it's in Richmond, Virginia, if you're in that area.
Oh, okay.
But they have less than 20 seats available. I will link to it in the show notes if you guys want to check it out. It's up on eventbrite.com. And it's a training class that essentially gets you up to date on Security Onion. Also, in the show notes, I have linked Doug's YouTube account. He is the CEO, as he puts it, or I believe he's the creator, Doug Burks, of Security Onion. His YouTube page is filled with tons of hands-on stuff. This is one of these topics where we could go really deep, but it would start to become irrelevant for a huge percentage of our audience. And there's no real need to, because you can go get it from the horse's mouth directly on his YouTube page. I've linked that in the show notes. So between the training courses and this, hopefully if you're interested in this is something you could take on yourself. I really just say, go out, download Security Onion. They've got the latest ISO just out a couple of days ago. I have that linked in the show notes. If you put it on a VM, little pro tip.
Okay.
Give your VM 3 interfaces. One to do the sniffing and make that bridge to your actual network. One that's internal only, and that'll be your management NIC, and that'll be when you go to localhost and stuff. And then a third NIC to browse the web, because once you run the setup tool, the NIC that's doing the sniffing that's plugged into your main network, it drops its IP because it's just in passive mode listening.
Yeah, so it doesn't need it.
So you can't, and so you can't go out to the web or anything like that. So if you need to do updates and things like that, you'll need a third NIC that's still connected to your network that has routing and DNS and an IP and all those things.
Nice.
So you'll technically, if you do it in a VM, you want 3. You probably want 3 NICs if you do it on a PC if you don't put that second NIC in a private network.
Very cool.
There you go. Security Onion.
Love the fact that they got that YouTube channel too, that you can actually go through and learn. I mean, that's the way I learn. I learn through video.
I was looking on there. Some of them are like 11 months old or so, but they're still totally relevant.
Oh yeah.
Crazy great screenshots too to see some of these tools in action. Those are in the show notes. If you're listening to, I really encourage you to just browse the show notes really quick for 331. And you can find Security Onion. I went to blog.securityonion.net. I don't know if do they have a regular. Let me see. That's where I got it from because I was reading about their update. Nope, just blog.securityonion.net.
Easy enough.
It's a great tool. Tons of good interfaces, charting. I mean, you could put this in a day and show it to your boss, and I think he'd be, or she would be pretty impressed.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially when you're like, here's the benefit you're going to get, and here's how much it costs you. My salary.
Yeah. And if you have a VM, it's even cheaper. Really.
Yep, there you go.
Just make sure you have decent disk I/O because it's going to have a lot of logging and analyzing to do. All right, Matt. That's the Linux Action Show's look at peeling that Security Onion. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But hey, Matt.
Yes.
Before we get out of here, I need the audience to save me from the edge. I'm about to switch to FreeBSD.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm hoping we can find a Linux alternative. But before we get to that, I do have to say a special happy birthday to you, Matt. It's your birthday tomorrow. I got you this creepy clown.
Awesome. You know, I've always wanted a creepy clown, especially where he's got like fangs.
Yeah. And good news, I also got you this other creepy clown. I got you two creepy clowns, and producer Q5Sys also sent along from one sexy bitch to another. Happy birthday.
I love it. That's great.
Have a great birthday, Matt. Are you doing anything crazy tomorrow for your birthday?
Nothing too eventful. Just hanging out with family and keeping it chill.
Good. You know what I'm going to do while you celebrate your birthday? I'm going to go read your article over at datamation.com.
Nice.
Chrome OS versus Linux, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
A little bit of link bait, but a lot of substance. I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, like so what? Yeah. So like 2 scoops of substance and 1 scoop of link bait?
Exactly. It's all about proportion. Okay. It's okay to get them in there, but you got to give them some,
It's like when I have a really healthy burger and a side of fries.
There it is.
Something like that.
Exactly.
But maybe reading's not my speed. That's good because Matt's also got some videos over at youtube.com/geekandthegamer. New episode is out. Go check it out.
Oh, who's your new friend, Eric?
Shut up, Mom. Not now.
Oh.
Hey, Cartman's mom.
Oh.
You like that, huh? You like that?
Ooh.
Yeah. You like that?
Is that Spanish?
Why, yes. Yes, it is.
I like that. That's a great one.
And so did Cartman's mom, oddly enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a wine game here?
This is a wine game, yes.
The Stick of Truth.
It runs great in wine. Just install it and enjoy it.
Nice. Yeah, that looks like a fun one. And a little dirty, you're saying?
A little dirty.
Yeah,
you know,
pushes
a
the
lot of
edge.
farting and a lot of edge pushing.
Yeah. YouTube.com/geek and the gamer. Well, I'm pretty excited because we announced the new jacket, teespring.com/JBJacket. If you're going to be at Ohio Linux Fest, this is how you be part of the In Club. Mm-hmm. We might bring a couple to give away too if you can't afford them, so don't worry, don't get too upset about it. But gosh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great seeing you guys rocking the Linux Action Show logo at Ohio Linux Fest. And of course, if you're not going to be there too, just go to teespring.com/JBJacket and grab one. We've now sold 12.
Nice.
12
And,
with 8 days remaining.
I'm telling you, and it's a great way to identify who you guys are at the fest.
Yeah, we have, of course, we have to reach our goal of 100 for any of them to ship.
This is true.
Oh my gosh, Matt, the suspense is killing me already. Also, $1 of every jacket is going to be donated to the Ella and Madison Fund. A family friend of ours recently had some really tragic events happen, and we're trying to help them try to reclaim what's left of their lives. And so a portion of the proceeds from this jacket will go towards that effort, which is really important to us. So thank you, everyone. Not only are you helping out the network and helping us fund the trip to Ohio Fest, but you'll also be helping out some people who really deserve it. Teespring.com/JBJacket. Also, speaking of going to events, don't forget we got that Instagram feed over at Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. When we go to these events, you'll often see a lot of stuff pop up on this feed. Or like during Tech Talk today, I'll ask my wife to take a selfie. And I'll say, all right, you got to go post that. Or we have audience members who like to send in their swag, and we'll post that up on the Instagram feed. Yeah, it is
And my
really
favorite photo, of course, of the three of you.
Yeah, that we took that down there at down at OSCON, and the secret to this, and I think this is why Noah looks so devious right there. The secret is we're at the Microsoft booth,
And so he's owning it, you know.
Yeah, and they're
Eric's
like,
all Mr. Burns, you know.
right? Yeah, Eric's definitely, and I'm just like, it all comes together. Linux Action Show went in there and rocked the Microsoft booth, and we were asking them questions like, so how many employees at Microsoft use Linux and things like that? It was interesting. They wouldn't go on camera, but we still got to pick their brains.
That's cool.
Yeah, Instagram.com/Jupiter Broadcasting. There's Blaster rocking his Coder Radio 100 mug and his Tech Talk Today, or his Coder Radio 100 shirt and his Tech Talk Today mug.
Good deal.
And it's my son Dylan. I think he's sitting in that spot right there.
Oh, nice.
And he's running Elementary OS.
He's running things. Nice. Good deal.
You like that?
That's cool.
So you can get a little Elementary OS action over there, too. Last but not least, we've also got our subreddit, linuxactionshow.reddit.com, where you can give us feedback, submit stories. Your votes help us get an idea of what you like to see covered. Your comments give us insights for future discussion. It's also a great place for feedback or other community interaction. Okay.
Good stuff.
So, Matt, I said I was about to switch to FreeBSD.
Oh, my goodness.
We just got done talking about intrusion detection and security onion. Big part of that is also having a really competent firewall that not just I can manage, but that other staff here at the JB1 Studios can also manage.
Makes sense.
I got to tell you right now, the tool I'm feeling that is right for the job is pfSense. It's got a great UI. It has a great packet filter firewall, PF. It has packages available to deploy things like Squid and Smoke Ping and stuff like that. Good support. Really easy to set up, straightforward UI for managing your firewall rules. There's things out there that run Linux, like IPFire and ClearOS and things like that. So like IPFire, I don't like the UI, and I think it uses IP tables. ClearOS, it looks like too much OS for me. So here's what I'm looking for. I would like a straight-up pfSense alternative powered by Linux, something with a competitive UI similar to pfSense, with packages for installation if possible, like Squid and Smoke Ping and things like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Here's the big one for me.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't use IP tables.
Ooh. What's an alternative?
Well, it'd be a big bonus if it used NF tables.
So that would be like the de facto awesome
That would be
factor.
amazing.
Okay.
Or if it was like a ported version of PF or whatever. I would love that. Because I want to replace the firewall here at the JB1 Studios. Right now, I'm trending towards pfSense. And I just don't want to go down that. Because if I go Linux, A, I know Linux better.
Exactly.
So I'm more competent in that area. But B, it gives me more content for the Linux Action Show.
Exactly.
So
You're not having to take a bite at the BSD apple.
I mean, if I go and I deploy pfSense, I will come on the show and I will tell you why I made that decision. And I will own it. But I'm just telling you, this is our
and get
last
grief,
chance.
of course, but yeah.
So linuxactionshow.reddit.com will have a feedback thread for this episode 331. If you would leave me your ideas, ClearOS, IPFire, IPCop, or whatever. I mean, all those, they're fine, but you can link them, but I've tried them or I've looked at them. They feel like they're too much, or they feel like the UI is not there, or they're using IP tables or whatever it is, but I know there's got to be something out there. And NF tables seems like such potential. And I even considered maybe I'll just build like an Archbox.
Yeah.
Do NF tables on the command line. easy peasy. But that isn't really very fair to the other folks in the
No,
studio who are
it's
going to need to
not.
manage the firewall. So trying to create something that works for everybody, has lots of features. And
There it is.
whatever we find, I'll share with you on the show, so everybody gets to learn from the experience. So the subreddit would be the best place, or you can go to jupiterbroadcasting.com, click the contact link, choose Linux Action Show from the drop-down, and let us know, or Linux Unplugged. Both are good. And last but not least, we love it when you join us live over at jblive.tv. We do the show on Sundays. Go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar to get that converted to your local time zone. We have Linux Unplugged on Tuesdays, Tech Talk Today Monday through Thursday. Get the general tech news from a Linux user's perspective. All of that is laid out over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. The key URL you need to worry about is jblive.tv. We've got the chat room embedded there. We've got the live stream. You can even pull it out of Flash and put it right into VLC or MPV or something like that. Yeah, lots of options for you guys. And you also have the subscribe links on the show notes where you can subscribe to the RSS feed and get the show weekly. Get the magic every single
Way to do it.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. So we've got oh man, jeez, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
So much
It's just it's unbelievable, you guys. I'm freaking out so much right now. I need a little freedom. Thank you. I need more. Thank you. Thank you. I could use one more.
It's negative in the freedom dimension.
Oh, that's a tease.
Then your description is not accurate.
I guess it's open to interpretation.
What's wrong with that?
I couldn't tell you.
That's just a false belief.
He's got an answer for everything, Matt.
Jeez,
Who
Richard,
knows?
you're making me think. I don't know.
A trap where you lose your freedom. That seems like a total change of topic. I don't follow you at all.